Welcome into Real Talk today. I'm Michael Liptak here with Sydney McIntyre. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and we brought in two advocates from the Pueblo Rape Crisis Service. And first, I'm going to introduce Kiera Sviertsky and Nikki Sosa. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm the outreach coordinator as well as a case manager.
And I'm the volunteer coordinator, and I'm also a case manager with Pueblo Rape Crisis Services.
And we're going to jump straight into what this organization does. Talk about what this organization does, some of the services that is offered, and just what this organization does for the community of Pueblo.
Absolutely. So we offer victim-based services, and what that looks like is a 24/7 crisis hotline. We also respond to the hospital 24/7, so we'll typically get called down to Parkview as they have the SANE exam, which is that sort of DNA collection exam. We also do community outreach. That's a big part of my job, is going out into the community and talking about awareness of the issue of sexual violence, as well as ways that we can prevent it as a culture. And so another big part of what we do is kind of put on these community events to bring the community together, and that's another way to tie in the issue and get everybody on the same page.
Yeah, and so that victim services really is the big piece of what we do in serving survivors of sexual violence through support, advocacy, case management, as well as support groups too.
Now talk about your roles a little bit at the organization. I know you're a volunteer and you're the outreach manager. Talk about some of the things that you do and you as well.
Sure. So as the volunteer coordinator, I recruit, train, and manage our volunteers. So we have an on-call schedule in which we have our volunteers taking shifts to help cover the 24/7 crisis hotline. So they'll go through a training. We do it quarterly. And new volunteers will take about 35 hours to train, and then they're set up to go respond to our hotline. So that's primarily what I do in my coordinator position.
Okay. So as the outreach coordinator, my biggest piece really is getting the community engagement, getting that education out there, and that to me means that organizations in the community are aware of the issue, that their staff kind of have a good understanding of what sexual violence is, that schools are open to having us come in and talk about what a healthy relationship means or what consent means. So a whole kind of variety of issues that surround sexual violence. And then certainly as case managers, our roles are keeping up with those clients, those individuals that need either short-term or long-term support after they've been sexually assaulted.
Okay, and as advocates for this subject alone, especially in today's day and age with the social media and how people, find the information on it, how do you guys reach out that way via, the internet and social media? How does that work and coordinate? Because with the crisis that happened, it's kind of hard because you have to keep a lot of those, very quiet. You can't talk about a lot of things. So yes, how do you do that?
Yeah, so there definitely is that confidential piece to it. And so as far as getting those services out there, we do utilize Facebook and Twitter a little bit, not quite as much. We're definitely more active on Facebook. So it really is just letting the community know what we can offer survivors, and then they can reach out to us through that hotline, or they can contact the office directly, and we'll do an intake with them, and all of that is kept completely confidential.
And I think that's why those community presentations are so important, and why events are so important. Getting the word out, whether it's fundraising or just building community engagement, the point is that every single person that attends or every single person that sees that TV ad or that flyer in the window now has an understanding that this service does exist in Pueblo and that we're there to help people.
Now, going into a little bit more of the awareness part, what are some steps that someone can take if they think they were sexually abused or a bystander by that means what are the steps that they can take to do it in an appropriate manner?
Sure. So I think the very first step for someone, if they have a trusted person available to them, would be to actually go to that person and kind of hopefully have the courage to confide in them. And the next step would be certainly to give us a call. Depending on when the assault happened, they would go to the hospital for the SANE exam, and that's usually done within a 72-hour period. Otherwise, though, going to the hospital or going to a trusted physician is a good idea anyway, just in terms of well-being and self-care. But again, going to that trusted person and then calling us.
When the night has come, and the land is dark, and the moon is the only light we'll see.